One Last Bath for Marie Antoinette is one of the quintessential films of the 1940s and 50s. It's one of the only films from that era to fully express the complex tendencies of the human sexual mind, the true decadence of animalistic desire, and accurately depicting foreplay in its most organic form. That is why its recent discovery and forthcoming remastered re-release is such a significant cinematic event. So many people will get to experience this groundbreaking film, which until just recently was virtually unknown.
On November 10, 1952, little-known woman's undergarment salesman Francis Pinkerberg made a kamikaze leap towards a career in the film industry, releasing his first and final feature, One Last Bath for Marie Antoinette, to shocked audiences everywhere. While its run lasted only a few days, before angry mobs stormed theaters everywhere, setting fire to all existing copies, there was no denying that a seed had been planted. Nothing like it had ever been seen before, and nothing like it would be seen again for quite some time. Most scholars credit this moment and Francis Pinkerberg for giving birth to the softcore porn movement.
When people talk about One Last Bath, they talk about how it was provocative for its era, all that fuss and fanfare about spectacle. But what people don't talk about is how genuinely compelling the story is, how tied to the development of his characters are Pinkerberg's central themes, the complementary and contrasting roles of primitive lust and cleanliness. That's what I think is really going to come through in this remastered edition.
All I remember is how much sex everybody was having. You see, none of us had ever done anything like this before, where we just paraded around naked, just rubbing on each other. Just rubbing on each other. I mean, Francis and I, we were doing the deed like 4 to 5 times a day. And then Sherbert and I mean, we were doing it 2 to 3 times a day because he was doing it with everybody on set 2 or 3 times a day. But it always was good with Sherbert. It was always good with the girls.
Porn has been around since Adam and Eve banged. Something about it is just so universal. It's like one of the universal languages.
My favorite shot is the long close-up of the 3 fairies giving Marie Antoinette what can only be described as the bath of a lifetime. And I believe it was a handheld shot, which is just so revolutionary for its time.
Oh man, I used to love doing it with Sherbert. You know, when he'd wear that big, luscious, erect wig he had. That thing would get me so hot. Man, I wish I could go.
I'll be ready in a minute, darling!
This was Henrietta. Wow. I mean, how freaking sexy can you get? Flying around the stage in a wheelchair? It's like 3 girls weren't enough for this guy. He needed 4. And to top it off, she's a paraplegic.
The decision to include a handicapped actress in this film was just so significant. I mean, how ahead of this time was this guy? And what's more astonishing is that Henrietta later went on to become a world-famous opera singer. favorite shot, wait, no, I already said that. The most significant shot is where Marie Antoinette steps out of her bath and they towel her off in this Christ-like position. What do you think Pinkerberg is trying to tell us with this image? And he repeats it later on. I believe there's a shot of her being doused in powder, and again, she's in this Christ-like pose.
Information. Well, it was real information.
Admittedly, most people today are only going to watch the first 5 or 6 minutes of this film, then run to the bathroom. But those 5 minutes are going to be really impressive.
Francis Pinkerberg's vision still holds up today. I'm sure of it. It's just a shame he didn't get a chance to make more films.
Why didn't he make more films? Well, no one can say for sure. And of course he's been quite mum on the subject, but one could assume that the violent public reaction that followed the release of his film must have dealt quite a blow to the fragile artist's ego. To have had all copies of your masterpiece stolen and burned, there's just no way of telling what kind of damage the unforgiving public did to his soul. But as fate would have it, one of the copies managed to evade the raging mob, and is now available for us all to enjoy.